is Arthur's Seat, and it's actually Arthur's Seat is in a place known as Arthur's State Park. You can get the gondola up here, or you can walk up here as well. So definitely worthwhile checking out. I mean, have a look at the view here behind. 305 metres up. Well, welcome to Arthur's Seat Summit. A little bit about it. It reaches 314 metres above sea level. Arthur's Seat is one of the most prominent and recognisable landmarks here on the Mornington Peninsula, covering an area of 572 hectares and outstanding natural beauty. I've seen that for myself here. Even on a cold day, it's still quite stunning. A lot of bird life as well. We're going to check a bit out. Well, I've come out to Sorrento in the Morning Peninsula, and there is a ferry which you can put your cars on that leaves from the Sorrento ferry terminal and goes all the way out here and then over towards Geelong, and that's coming in now, right there. Let's go. So I'm here at the Point Nepean National Park in Victoria, just on the outskirts of Melbourne, near Portsea. And this particular room in here is in an unrestored state. It's quite old, and this is the cookhouse from the old days of when this was a quarantine facility. People would come in internationally on ships and they would store them in this whole facility, and this was the cookhouse. Big facility, goes for acres and acres, but my gosh, it would have been freezing cold here in the days, that's for sure, before modern heating. So this is officially known as the quarantine station here in Portsea. In 2002 it celebrated its 150th anniversary, and this station was established in November 1852 and was really opened when a ship from England anchored offshore raising a yellow flag, which meant that it needed to quarantine, and over half the immigrant passengers on board were seriously ill with typhus and diarrhea, dysentery and measles. 70 of them subsequently died in quarantine and were buried at the beach cemetery here. The authorities soon acquired this site from Sullivan and Cannon, who farmed and operated this area, and then that became a temporary hospital just over here in 1854, and the first permanent buildings were constructed between 1856 and 1858. By 1978 though, the immigration by air was increasing, and modern medical treatment available in Melbourne hospitals meant that this quarantine facility here at Portsea didn't need to be here any longer. That's the story.
That was Steve being somber. I prefer the beach myself. Just saying.
Constructed in the early 1800s, when this first became a quarantine facility, was the likes of this building, one of two, and these buildings here were the hospitals. The buildings each had 4 large dormitory sections to them, and from the 1870s were used by steerage passengers. To the rear of the hospitals was the kitchen, where the passengers prepared their own meals, and during the years of the army, the buildings were used for junior ranks clubs, cadet accommodation, quartermaster's store, and the canteens. And so from 2000 onwards here at the National Park, over the last 10 years, there has been extensive planning and consultation about the best ways to conserve, interpret and adapt the range of buildings, spaces and environments inherited from the quarantine and defence periods for the new public use. This building behind me was the isolation ward and also acted as part of a morgue. Interestingly, even hundreds of years ago, and I know coronavirus feels like with our isolations and all that have happened in quarantines around the world, that it's new to us, because it is to the generations that live now. But even so long ago, things that were worrying people as much as like smallpox, diarrhea, put people into quarantine as well. It's certainly something that's clearly been going on for many generations. What I find fascinating about this, we've seen our quarantine hotels around the world, here in Australia and in New Zealand at least, fenced off. And people have come in with the coronavirus in those first 2 years before it settled now. Well, they did exactly the same place with this isolation hospital. This is the last bits of the remains of the fence, which went all the way around. So they too were isolated, similar to what those in the hotels were.